Ah, well, here we go again. First off, apologies for the less than ideal camera quality. Circumstances arose, and I am forced to use my laptop camera today. But no matter, we persevere. Last week, I read the prologue of Keepers of Fire, and this week we start with Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Atia. Atia Morren knew it was hopeless. Sides aching, she worked desperately to quicken her speed, pushing herself to the maximum as she raced to get home. She should have known it would have turned out this way. Of all people, she should have remembered how long short walks could become. Sapphira is going to be furious, Atia thought despairingly, recalling how emphatic her eldest sister had been the night before. Early morning escapades were not uncommon for the 17-year-old Atia, but with so much to do before the party, Sapphira had requested, or rather insisted, that Atia forgo the walk. But of course, I didn't listen. They're probably all awake by now. I should never have gone. She took a shortcut, crashing through the brambles, ignoring the tugging briars that added snags to her already fraying hem. In all fairness, it wasn't entirely her fault. Most certainly she hadn't planned on disappearing. If the chicken coop weren't right beneath her window, the rooster's crowing would not have woken her. Stretching her legs before a day like today had seemed like a good idea. She could be gone and back before breakfast. And she would have been, if you'd kept to the woods. By the time the farmhouse came into view, Atia's blonde hair was a tangled mess. She dashed for the house, praying that her sisters had somehow slept in late. As she drew closer, her eyes picked out movement behind the window. Atia smoothed down her hair and dusted her skirt. Arthen's wind chime tinkled from where it hung on the porch roof, its wistful jingling earning it a reproachful look. 3 years, and still the ornament brought thoughts of adventure. Arthen couldn't have left a better memento if he'd tried. Except maybe his children. Holding her breath, Atia opened the door, stepping carefully into the small entry. Perhaps she could slip in quietly. "Well, look who's here!" a loud voice exclaimed. Atia started, and then hissed, "Maria, shush!" Unimpressed, her younger sister folded her arms, dark curly hair hanging loose about her shoulders. "Where have you been?" "Is Atia back?" Footsteps shuffled, and then Elise appeared, arms white with flour. Atia glanced only briefly at her cousin, knowing that her silent disappointment was much harder to bear than Mavea's naive censures. It didn't matter that Elise was only 3 years older than her. The worldly wise, even-tempered widow could abash a king without saying a word. "Sapphira isn't pleased with you," Mavea warned. "Where is she?" Atia demanded. "She left already," Elise replied. "She and the Senate went to the Green to help set up. They wanted you to come with them, but..." Arthen's widow shrugged. Atia groaned and ran a hand over her face. "I knew I shouldn't have gone." "Why did you?" Mavea put her hands on her hips. "Sapphira told you not to." "Did they want me to follow them? When did they leave?" "About half an hour ago." Elise beckoned as she moved back toward the kitchen. "And no, they didn't want you to follow them. They want you to help us instead." Inside the small, neat kitchen, Atia was greeted by the smell of Sapphira's hasty biscuits. A few dishes still cluttered the wooden countertop at the back of the room. The top half of the back door was open, letting in a breeze. "We saved you some breakfast." Elise gestured to the modestly filled plate on the table. The 2 fried eggs looked cold. "But there isn't much time. We have so many flowers to cut. Mavea has only filled 1 basket. We need at least 5. "I'm trying to go quickly," Mavea protested. "I'll lend a hand." Atia dropped into her chair and began shoveling food into her mouth. Casting her delinquent older sister a final, condemning glance, Mavea reached for the shears resting on the table. "I'll meet you outside." Atia nodded, mouth full. Elise had returned to her bread dough on the opposite side of the table. Her wedding ring, set aside as always for messy work, winked up at them both amidst the flutter of flour. The tinkling of the wind chime reached them faintly through the open top half of the kitchen door, causing Atia to study the preoccupied woman before her. Probably the only thing his uncle had ever done was dump his infant daughter with his brother's family. Elise had grown up on the Morren farm. Atia's parents, dead now for several years, had argued viciously but unsuccessfully when Rella Morren returned to take Elise back. And Elise spent 2 years traveling all over the map before meeting Arthen and eloping with him when she was just 15. Far from being a disaster, however, the marriage proved the young woman's prudence. Arthen whisked her back to Chestel, where she happily remained, and for which Arthen earned the Morren family's love. Too wild to settle down himself, however, Arthen did not linger for long, promising to return regularly every few months, which he did almost without fail. By the time he died 3 years later, killed by bandits on the road home, Elise was barely pregnant and by and by delivered twin boys. Atia still admired Arthen's memory, for she too dreamed of wandering. Knowing that his murderers likely still roamed the world made his loss worse. Justice had not been done, and likely never would be. Honestly, I don't know why Atia's father didn't just clock his brother instead of allowing him to take Elise. But, oh well. I don't make all these decisions. My characters do. No sign of the players yet, I imagine, Elise asked, strands of blonde hair flying loose from her braid. Atia paused for a moment, perplexed, then grinned sheepishly. Elise knew her too well. I didn't follow the road. I climbed the hill just east of it, the tallest. You chose to climb the tallest today? Atia winced ruefully. Not the brightest idea, I suppose. Snorting a laugh, Elise shrugged. Perhaps not. I suppose it's good we live so close to the basin wall. Atia nodded, smiling. It was a good thing. Of all her escapes, the basin hills were her favorite. Surrounding the community of Chestel like an earthen crown, they made the location a valley. Atia loved climbing to the very top of the highest and gazing to the south, for beyond the hills was the world, the real world, the world she wanted to see. Atia loved her life in Chestel. She loved her sisters, and she loved her home, but she had always felt there was something more, something calling to her, something that Chestel could not bring. An irate shriek came from the floor, followed by a fiendish giggle. Oh, Nias. Sighing, Elise wiped her dusty hands on her apron and went to intervene as her twin boys, barely 2 years old, fought over a wooden toy. Should I take them out with me? Atia offered, finished with her food and rising to her feet. Do you mind? Elise asked with relief, taking the toy firmly from them both. Poor Jero has had nothing but abuse from his brother all morning. Atia chuckled, looking down at her small nephews. Jero, the elder twin, was still scowling at the injustice of losing his plaything, while Nias, the younger, beamed up at Atia with the ever-present glint of mischief in his eyes. They really didn't look alike. Nias had always looked like his father, while Jero had only Arthen's eyes. I'll come out and join you when I can, Elise promised, as Atia dressed the twins for the outdoors. I need to finish the bread and the chickens need feeding, but that's all. I won't be long. Nodding, Atia herded the boys into the yard. And that's the end of chapter 1. Next week, I obviously start with chapter 2. And I will give just a slight spoiler in that we will meet well, it'll be pretty obvious from the beginning that he's the villain. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Like Elise, I have bread downstairs, though I will technically be turning it into pizza. And so anyway, yes, once again, thank you for watching. If you want to if you just happened upon this video randomly, the prologue was published last week on YouTube, and you can find it on my channel. And please like, subscribe, and all that. And if you want to read along, the book links are down below. And yeah, I hope to see you again next week. Thanks.